Hello, and thank you for watching this regional ag forecast for the southern U.S. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. As we start off with a look at the satellite and lightning combination here, you can see you've got a couple areas of thunderstorms ongoing. One stationary area that's producing some heavy rainfall across eastern Oklahoma into western Arkansas. We've got scattered showers and storms to the north of that, moving from northern Missouri and southern Iowa into the state of Illinois early this morning. And then as you look off to the south, we've got a tropical disturbance that's expected to at least make it to tropical depression status as it moves off toward Central America over the next couple of days. And then we've got a tropical depression moving off to the north and to the east away from the U.S. As we take a look at the radar picture, then again, you can see this well-defined MCS, a little bit of a bow echo pushing into central portions of Arkansas this morning, maybe some damaging wind threat with that as we head through the next several hours. But then as you head off to the back off toward the west, you've got training thunderstorms pushing into the Oklahoma City area. So some very heavy rainfall across eastern portions of Oklahoma into western Arkansas. Again, some areas seeing over 5 to 6 inches of rainfall over just the last 24 hours or so. And we're going to continue to see the rainfall stacking up here over the next 2 to 3 days. And this is on top of some of the rain that we saw from Laura as we go back to last week. So for that reason, we've got flood watches, flash flood watches, and flood warnings in effect from North Texas into central, eastern, and southern Oklahoma, and then off into western portions and central portions of Arkansas. As we head through, the next day or two, we'll be really watching the rain stack up in this area. We've also got heat advisories off to the south there across eastern Texas into Louisiana and Mississippi. As we look at the next week of rainfall forecast from the National Weather Service, again, we're going to continue to keep the Gulf of Mexico open as we head into the mid and late part of the week. We've also got a cutoff low stalled out across the region, providing the upper level support in this area. So it is going to be the theme this week, really talking about heavy rainfall and the regeneration of clusters of showers and storms across this region. Now, we're not talking about a lot in the way of severe weather. We do have a marginal risk today along that frontal boundary from the eastern Corn Belt back into the southern plains. Tomorrow, this would be Wednesday, we've got a marginal risk across parts of the mid-Atlantic, and then as we get into Thursday, we introduce a slight risk over in the mid-Atlantic, just keeping a general thunderstorm outlook here across parts of the southern U.S. Now, there are a couple ways that we can look at this pattern. There are many ways, but two ways that I think make this look pretty obvious. We're going to first look at the precipitable water content. So this is kind of saying if you stood in place, you look straight up, how much moisture can be wrung out of the atmosphere. And we have an extremely tropical air mass here across the southern U.S. A couple things happening here. We're just keeping the Gulf of Mexico wide open, and again, keeping a very tropical air mass in place here across parts of the Mid-South into the Ozarks, across East Texas through Oklahoma, Arkansas, southern Missouri, getting into southern Illinois, and then Kentucky and Tennessee. As you look off toward the north, we're going to be bringing waves over the top of the ridge out in the west. Each one of these is going to bring a refreshing or a reinforcing shot of cooler and drier air to the Corn Belt, but doesn't do anything to disrupt the pattern here across the southern U.S. until we get to the later part of the week. So knowing this now, I've set the table. We're going to go ahead and continue to play this animation. We're getting into Wednesday now. Getting into Thursday, you're seeing another frontal boundary sweeping across the Corn Belt right here. This late Thursday, getting into Friday, and this one is going to start to bring some change here to the southern U.S. We're keeping the rainfall threat in here as we get into Friday, but now you're starting to finally see some of this drier air, cooler and drier air associated with the trough that's digging into the central U.S., starting to take this upper level low and bring it back toward the west, kicking it out of here. We'll see another reinforcing shot of even cooler and drier air as we get into Monday and Tuesday of next week. This is a front that a lot of people are starting to talk about, one that could bring some chilly air down into the central U.S., and this one just may clear the Gulf and help kind of reset things. So we've seen the saturated air mass being drawn northward across this region. Now let's look at the 500 millibar vorticity plot. This is how we can kind of look for upper level disturbances, the upper level support, and this is exactly what we see. This stalled out frontal boundary right here, deep Gulf moisture being drawn northward up and over the top of that boundary. And then as we look at the upper levels, we've got this cutoff low that's providing the upper level support to kick off these renewed clusters of showers and storms. And so I'm going to take the drawings off again. You can watch this upper level low just kind of cut off across the region, meandering around, just parked over the area. We're all the way into Friday morning now, so it doesn't go anywhere. We've got deep tropical moisture, we've got upper level lift, we've got a trigger point with that stalled out frontal boundary. So there's just no reason for these showers and storms to shut down across this part of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, even into the Mid-South at times, Kentucky and Tennessee, northern Mississippi, until this next trough comes swinging out of the north and we start to kind of push this one off to the west. This makes more sense when we look at the wind speeds at 500 millibars. I'm going to play it out over the next couple of days. Here's our little cutoff low, displaced from the stronger upper level flow across the north. So the main branch of the jet stream across Canada, the northern plains, the Great Lakes. But we've just got this little wave that's cut off and meandering around over the next few days until something bigger than it, something stronger, kicks it out of the way. And that something bigger, that something stronger is this trough that comes swinging out of the Canadian Prairie into the Midwest as we get into Thursday. This one's going to dig a little bit further to the south. Here's our upper level low, still spinning away now across East Texas as we get into Friday, slowly being pushed off to the west, where it'll be picked up by our ridge of high pressure that's spinning away out to the west. So this is where we finally get rid of this thing as we get into the weekend, and then as we get into early next week, you'll see it coming out of the Canadian Prairie here as we get into Monday and Tuesday of next week. This is the big trough that's going to bring a reset to the pattern here and some much cooler air to the central and potentially the southern U.S. as we get into early next week. So let's take all of this, let's put it together with a way that makes a little bit more of intuitive sense, doesn't require so much drawing on my end. We're looking at the high resolution NAM model, and again, that's going to continue to keep the heavy rainfall threat across the southern U.S. as we start to bring some scattered storms to the eastern Corn Belt over the next couple of days. We're heading into, this will be early this morning, watching that MCS begin to fade across Oklahoma and Oklahoma and Arkansas, perhaps sinking into Texas, but we'll see showers and storms redeveloping across North Texas into East Texas during the overnight. Showers and storms continuing at least scattered in nature across Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee during the overnight tonight as well. As we head into the day on Wednesday, same situation. We're not going to disrupt this pattern. Deep Gulf moisture, upper level support, stalled out frontal boundary. Watch for renewed development of showers and storms across Oklahoma and Arkansas during the day on Wednesday, and then probably going to be looking for the exact same thing as we head into the day on Thursday. So as we just play out the total accumulated precipitation here across the lower 48, as we continue to pump Gulf moisture into the region, heavy rainfall from central and northern Texas into eastern Oklahoma and northern Arkansas. And then as we step back and look even a little bit further out, we'll look at the European model now. This will take us into next week. So here we go, going through Tuesday night into Wednesday, getting into Thursday, now into Friday, continuing to watch the rainfall threat across the region. You can still kind of make out the stalled boundary doing something like this. Now we're going to see this next area of high pressure begin to kick this off to the east. So now we've got high pressure across parts of southern Illinois, the Boot Heel of Missouri, and this is what the flow coming around that is going to start to kick this wave off to the west, bringing the rainfall threat finally to an end across this region as we get into Friday and Saturday. And then we'll look for that push of cooler air to come into at least western portions of the southern region as we get into early next week. So we're looking at the probability of picking up 1 inch or more of rainfall between now and Saturday on the left and on the right. We're once again looking at the next week of total precipitation. So as we look at this, again, the hot spot for rain across the lower 48 over the next week or so, from North Texas into central and eastern Oklahoma, the northern half of Arkansas, getting into southern Missouri, and parts of the Mid-South, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Elsewhere across the southeast, we will see scattered showers and storms at times as we look at parts of Louisiana, getting into Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas, but definitely going to be more miss than hit in these regions. Most areas seeing less than a half an inch of rainfall over the next week or so. And then the state of Florida, scattered thunderstorm activity, daily pulse thunderstorms, some areas picking up in half an inch to an inch of rainfall. So we look at the soil moisture anomaly. This is not going to do much to help our friends to the north across the Corn Belt, a corridor from Nebraska into the eastern Corn Belt, including the states of Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, all the way into western Pennsylvania. Badly needs the rainfall, but we will be seeing that mostly locked into an area that doesn't need the extra rainfall, and that is just the way that it goes at points, or sometimes here with the weather. Let's talk about the temperatures then, just to wrap this video up. Again, we'll be seeing shots of cooler and drier air to our north across the Corn Belt, By and large, seeing warmer and muggy conditions across the southern U.S., though, until at least we get into early next week. We'll see this cooler air mass begin to sink into the region as we get into the September 9th, 10th, and 11th time frame. You can see the most of it, or the coolest impacts here as you head off to the west. Some question marks as to how much we're going to see any kind of cool down here across parts of the southeast, the far southeast at least. We'll talk about that more as we get into next week, though. I'll look at your temperatures then over the next 5 days, and then we'll wrap this up. Warm and muggy across the south here as we head through our Tuesday. We'll see cooler air as a result of the cloud cover and rainfall across Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas Wednesday, Thursday. Into Friday, we'll see that push of cooler air Friday and Saturday. Warming back up as we head into Monday and Tuesday, but then we'll watch midweek for that next shot of cooler air from the north. Have a great day, a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll talk to you again on Friday morning.